We all know that Red Bull likes to favoritize a certain driver. Absolutely booted out, his name disrespected on, spat on. Let's not beat around the bush. Max Verstappen has been on fire. Try that again. Max Verstappen has been on fire ever since he joined Formula 1, and for the last couple of seasons has been absolutely dominating the sport. And even all of you Verstappen fans, you can even agree. It would be nice once in a while to see someone else win a championship fight, close battles. We'd all love to see that, wouldn't we? Wouldn't we? Wouldn't we? Yes, Verstappen fans, we would, right? He's only been dethroned on a couple occasions. And on those couple occasions, the Verstappen podcast has been put on hold. And let's be real, the races have been slightly more fun to watch than others. Melbourne, Singapore, you name it. Well, that's pretty much all there is to name. So what would Formula 1 be without Verstappen in it? What if he never existed? Another universe? It probably has happened somewhere in another universe because, you know, universes. But what if he never existed? Wouldn't that be different? It would be different. A lot of different outcomes would have happened. So let's go through what could have happened if Verstappen never existed. Let me know what you guys think of all of this down in the comment. We all want to see someone else win. Watch it there, subscribe and like. I don't know why you wouldn't, kind of brain dead if you don't. So please do. Hope you enjoy the video. Now we have to start from the beginning, in chronological order like always, otherwise nothing ever makes sense.
Life makes no sense.
So, 2014, yes, Verstappen's not in the sport, but he is in Formula 3. A star in the making, some would say, and Helmut Marko has his eyes on him. Helmut Marko, eyes on kids? What? Anyway, at this time, Verstappen is 16 years old, and in Red Bull, driving in Red Bull, we have, you know, the big Daniel Ricciardo, the big shitter nowadays, who's just... And we also have Sebastian Vettel in the other Red Bull. In the Scuderia Toro Rosso now, we have Daniel Kvyat and Jeb. We all know, not a lot of us know who Jeb is.
Who the fuck is that guy?
But now he's a two-time Formula E champion.
Wow.
The only two-time Formula E champion, and he's pretty decent at that. But what if he wasn't? Daniel Kvyat in his rookie season did decent. 8 points to his name in a Scuderia Toro Rosso, which, you know, was bad.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
But it didn't really compare to Jev, as he scored 22 points. However, Helmut Marko was on his case because he wasn't improving as drastically as he should have. From the day he stepped into Formula 1, he was meant to be, you know, a good solid driver, but he kind of stayed at that level and never really exponentially grew in skill level. So he was dropped at the end of the 2014 season.
Skill issue.
Verstappen was here.
Keep talking, hello.
From 2014 to 2015, a lot changed. Sebastian Vettel failed to score a win, which is kind of a skill issue.
Your trash, kid.
And as a result, he moved to Ferrari. Forza Ferrari. We all love Ferrari.
No more brake pedal. Brake line exploded. I need to stop. Sounds about on.
Therefore, Daniel Kvyat got promoted to Red Bull, and, you know, Scuderia Toro Rosso, that kind of, the whole lineup was different, because you got Carlos Sainz in the wheel, and you got Max Verstappen, two new rookies. What could go right, and what could go wrong? But say Verstappen never existed, would have Jev kept his seat? Maybe, probably, maybe. So let's say Jev kept his seat for the 2015 season. Daniel Kvyat and Daniel Ricciardo are all pretty happy in Red Bull, no need for change there. Carlos Sainz isn't getting slapped up left and right by Max Verstappen because he isn't there. And Jev is, you know, in replacement of Verstappen. And let's be real, the playing fields would have been a bit more even, wouldn't they? In 2015, Max Verstappen scored a grand total of 49 points compared to Carlos Sainz's smaller grand total of 18. Jev, he would have been much closer to Carlos Sainz, or Carlos Sainz would have been much closer to Jev. So yet again, no real driver changes needed there. See, now this is where it gets spicy.
My lips are hurt.
Do we have yet again? Because 2016, the year where Hamilton and Rosberg weren't on best terms after a certain crash. But also the year where Daniel Kvyat got replaced by Max Verstappen.
Get out of here.
Daniel Kvyat, just reminder, he scored a podium in China.
You came like a torpedo.
It was all very hippity-happity, but gets dropped. Absolutely booted out, his name disrespected on, spat on. And Max Verstappen takes a seat. Say that all didn't happen, Kimi Raikkonen would have won the Spanish Grand Prix, Max Verstappen wouldn't be a race winner because he doesn't exist, and Daniel Kvyat would have still, potentially, had his race seat at Red Bull. Let's be real, Daniel Kvyat also wouldn't have done as goodly as Max Verstappen, compared to Daniel Ricciardo, you know. So maybe Raikkonen would have been closer to Sebastian Vettel. Yes, the gap of points was only like 30 or something, but maybe he would have been closer. This is also the time where Jev isn't exponentially growing, and Carlos Sainz is, obviously, and he's doing much better than he is compared to Jev, most probably. And going into the 2017 season, a change probably should be made, and a change, well, it's a pretty obvious change that should have been made, and was made. Gasly steps in for Jev, and Scuderia Toro Rosso, Carlos Sainz, and Gasly. And now we all know that Carlos Sainz went to Renault for 2017, but the thing is, if Daniel Ricciardo was performing how he was back in, you know, his heyday, now not so much. Carlos Sainz probably would have stuck for much longer, knowing that Daniel Kvyat is slowly dipping down in performance, and let's be real, soon would have been replaced. So maybe for the 2017 season, Daniel Kvyat and Carlos Sainz do a little switcheroo-do. So for 2017, we have Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz behind the wheel at Red Bull, and in the Toro Rosso, Daniel Kvyat and Pierre Gasly, like it was in real life. Carlos Sainz also kind of beat and maybe slightly dominated and more experienced Nico Hülkenberg, which could mean that he would have been close-ish to Daniel Ricciardo in 2017. Maybe. Probably not. Probably a bit further back, knowing that Verstappen was very close. Carlos Sainz wasn't on that level as Verstappen back then, so maybe slightly behind, but you know, it would have been different. The year is 2018, and Max Verstappen in real life has just dominated Ricciardo, and Pierre Gasly has just shat on Brendan Hartley's face. Shit! Now yes, I do agree that Brendan Hartley probably would have been promoted to Toro Rosso if Verstappen wasn't there, and Daniel Kvyat was also doing kind of poorly compared to a less experienced Pierre Gasly.
You surprise me to how shit you are.
But would he be replaced? Would Daniel Kvyat have been replaced? Now keep in mind, he scored 5 points compared to Pierre Gasly's 0. In 2017. So maybe he wouldn't have been replaced. A decent point scorer, yeah, maybe he will still be tagging along because his name wouldn't have been disrespected like that, like it was when Verstappen was around. Verstappen also wouldn't have put Daniel Ricciardo's name kind of into the grave in 2018, where he scored a lot more points than him, like a lot. So Ricciardo would still be up there, living, kicking, enjoying life in Red Bull, being the primary driver, the car more being developed around him. And maybe that meant that he would have been faster, because we all know that around 2018 time, the Red Bull was slowly leaning towards Verstappen, and that's where things started to change a lot. So for 2018, Daniel Ricciardo would have probably scored more points than Carlos Sainz. The car would have been more catered towards Ricciardo. Ricciardo would have probably scored a couple more wins, and Brendan Hartley wouldn't have gotten his shot in Formula 1, because Daniel Kvyat would have done an alright job, and he'd still be kicking along somewhere in the Scuderia Toro Rosso family. For the 2019 season in real Formula 1, we saw a lot of changes. Ricciardo, he departed and replaced Carlos Sainz at Renault. As a result, Pierre Gasly got promoted into the other Red Bull seat, and Alex Albon has joined Formula 1. Finally, let's go, Albon in the sport. And he's in the Scuderia Toro Rosso. And yes, Daniel Kvyat is still kicking along in the other Toro Rosso. He's back once again. He's back. But in a life without Verstappen, what would have happened? Now, Ricciardo probably would have stayed. The car is catered around him, and there's no real threat to leaving. The team isn't turning on him, and he's doing a fantastic job, or that's what we think. Carlos Sainz is also tagging along in the Red Bull. Things are going smoothly. He's fighting Ricciardo, getting pretty close to him. They're getting pretty good together, good teammates. Pierre Gasly's doing a good job in the Toro Rosso, not good enough to be, you know, promoted into the Red Bull seat. So for 2019, he's still tagging along in the Toro Rosso. But a young shot in Alex Albon, would he have gotten a seat in Toro Rosso? Probably not, maybe, probably not, because Daniel Kvyat is... Well, actually, Daniel Kvyat wasn't in the sport, so I guess maybe he actually would have gotten a seat in Toro Rosso, replacing Brendan Hartley. So in Toro Rosso, we would have had Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly, and in the Red Bull seat, Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz. Seems like a very, very decent lineup without Verstappen.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Now yes, the skill level has been divided by 2 because Verstappen isn't there, but you get what I'm saying. But what happens to McLaren? McLaren need a driver because Carlos Sainz went to McLaren. Who might go to McLaren? Maybe Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez might reunite with McLaren once again. I think Kimi Raikkonen might have gone to McLaren for his retiring days.
At White House Senior Living.
Charles Leclerc replaced him in Ferrari, and now it's time for, you know, him to find another good seat. And Alfa Romeo was one of the only ones available. So maybe McLaren, Raikkonen to McLaren, that would have been interesting. Him and Lando Norris getting good bonding time. Oldest driver. and a child. Yeah, that would have been cool to see. But now, you know, into team battles, Carlos Sainz and Daniel Ricciardo are probably pretty much neck and neck, close to each other. And Pierre Gasly probably would have beaten Alex Albon by a fair shot, wouldn't he? Business is booming in Red Bull. There's no inter-team real arguments now, is there? Everything's happy. Helmut Marko is satisfied because he's, you know, done some good decisions and everyone is satisfied. That's not really what he cares about because he's actually a real serial killer. Christian Horner is also happy that his teams are performing well. So for 2020, there's Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull, Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon in the AlphaTauri now. The scandal hasn't happened. Pierre Gasly hasn't replaced Daniel Ricciardo and been shat on by Verstappen.
Get shit on!
Then Alex Albon hasn't replaced Pierre Gasly because of his poor performances and yet again hasn't been shat on. In 2020, we all know that Daniel Ricciardo was peak performance, absolutely dominating his teammate in Renault. He was flying with flying colours. That was bad. You get what I'm saying? He peaked in 2020 with Renault, and if the car was like that for him in Red Bull, guarantee you everything, put my money on it, that it would have been the same. The two newer drivers in the Toro Rossos also, they don't have much pressure. They can develop, they can learn how to drive properly. There's not much pressure, and they're both doing a good job. Nothing really wouldn't, you know, they would have been all right. But, you know, we all know that Red Bull likes to favoritize a certain driver. Now being Verstappen, but back then it would have been Ricciardo, no doubt about it. So maybe it's time for Carlos Sainz to leave. The car is being more developed towards Ricciardo, like it was when Verstappen was there, being developed towards Verstappen. Carlos Sainz is getting enough. He's had enough. He wants to fucking leave right now. So things in Red Bull yet again are starting to So for the 2021 season, Carlos Sainz has had enough. He's left. He's gone. Disappeared. But I guess the stars have aligned yet again, because if Carlos Sainz decided to leave Red Bull at the end of the 2020 season, then yes, yet again, he might have gone to Ferrari. So the stars have aligned, and for the 2021 season, Charles and Carlos, if Verstappen wasn't in the picture at all, might have been together. But now this leaves an empty seat at Red Bull, and I think it's about time that Pierre Gasly finally gets his promotion. Probably not deserved, but he's, you know, the only option that Red Bull has. So for the 2021 season in Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo and Pierre Gasly. Now we all know what happened in 2021, especially in Abu Dhabi. We all remember that. But let's not beat around the bush. Let's be absolutely, totally frank and honest and not lie to ourselves. Verstappen is on another skill level to Daniel Ricciardo. Now, yes, if the car was more tuned to Daniel Ricciardo, yes, he would have done better, but it wasn't. And I still do think that Verstappen won that 2021 season because it's Verstappen. So 2021, Hamilton takes the title, doesn't he? Of course he does. Hamilton takes the title. I don't think there's a real threat from Daniel Ricciardo. Maybe slightly, but not as much as Verstappen was. And yet again, the stars have aligned because in AlphaTauri, Yuki Tsunoda got promoted for the 2021 season. So in AlphaTauri in 2021, we have Yuki Tsunoda and Alex Albon. Everything's starting to make sense again, coming together. Now the year's 2022, big booming businesses, because Hamilton is now an 8-time world champion. He's happy, he's not fallen into a mass depression. The world is happy because Hamilton is an 8-time world champion. But Formula 1 might have not got its, you know, whole kick from the 2021 season being the closest season. Things might have been a bit different. Oh, I mean, they were, because Verstappen wasn't there. Ricciardo being satisfied with Red Bull's progress, he has nowhere to go. He's staying for Red Bull for the long run. And now in 2022, we know what happened to Mercedes, don't we?
This car's so bad.
The driver lineup in Red Bull, still to 2022, being Daniel Ricciardo and Pierre Gasly. And in AlphaTauri, still Yuki Tsunoda and Alex Albon. And yes, Red Bull still would have had a very dominant car. And Ricciardo, yes, 2022 world champion. Daniel Ricciardo surely takes or sweeps the floor. But it wouldn't be as easy as Verstappen, because we all know, you know, the teething troubles that Charles Leclerc brought to Verstappen at the start of the season. So 2022 might have been the closest ever Formula 1 season. Not 2021, when that big championship battle, 2022. I think 2022 would have been booming. A great season to watch and a great season to be alive to witness. If Verstappen wasn't there and Ricciardo was in replacement for Ricciardo in the... What? Yeah,
What?
Pierre Gasly not being on Ricciardo's level, probably, but being a decent ways off. Now, keep this in mind, you know, Red Bull usually sign contracts for like 3 or so years, so keep that in there. Also, at the end of 2021, let's not forget, the Raikkonen decided to part ways from Formula 1 and, you know, go live a normal life. Alex Albon has been in the sport for quite a while now, and he's still stuck in that horrid, disgusting Toro Rosso AlphaTauri seat. So change. There's a free seat at McLaren because, you know, Raikkonen, we think, went to McLaren, or I think at least. So I'm going to say that Alex Albon replaces Raikkonen at McLaren. You know, the big duo, Norris, Albon, they've returned, reunited. They're back together like a fucking old, no. I don't know what I was trying to say, but friends are back in McLaren. Those two clowns, booming. But who's gonna replace Albon at Toro Rosso or AlphaTauri? Replacing the departing Albon, Yuri Vips might have been there if he didn't say, you know, certain words. Or maybe Liam Lawson would have got a chance in Formula 1. Maybe. So in 2022, Daniel Ricciardo is champion, Pierre Gasly's his teammate, and then the AlphaTauri. After Alex Albon's whole departure, maybe Liam Lawson, Yuri Vips, one of the two, and still Yuki Tsunoda is still tagging along. 2023, let's keep this short and sweet. Daniel Ricciardo wins with flying colours because of their sheer domination. Pierre Gasly has done the Perez, also, you know, not close to Ricciardo to put up a fight, but not too far off to, you know, be dropped. And the AlphaTauri seat stays the same. Yuki Tsunoda and one of the two, Yuri Vips or Liam Lawson. You can decide. Anyway, with that said, that is all that might have happened if Max Verstappen didn't exist, and the world would be slightly different. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. What do you think might have happened? Let me know. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and peace.